Here with my weekly broadcast with the one and only Matt Weinglass. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon here with Matt Weinglass, and a friend of mine just called. He says, "Garland, you're doing a bunch of shows in a row," and I'm like, "Well, I usually don't do many on the weekends, maybe one here and there, and I put a lot out on Fridays, and I'll look and they won't have many views, but over the weekend, people will see, from one to the next, so they usually do pretty good over the weekend. Gives people a chance to catch up, So can't work 7 days a week, even though some days I do, some weeks I do. All right, Matt Weinglass, let's get going. Oh, by the way. Follow Matt Weinglass at The Homeless Left on Rumble, And when I think of the homeless left, I think of Bernie Sanders. And I'll tell you why. Because a lot of us who were like, at a time, we thought there was maybe a home in the Democratic Party. Why Bernie truly made us believe that there was a left flank there. And perhaps we could change the Democratic Party. We could influence their policy, something like that. And we ended up homeless politically speaking. Whether or not that's the connotation you had for it. But my point is this, just your thoughts. So a while back, I see friggin' Bernie. AIPAC literally had a video up at one point of Bernie saying there should be no ceasefire because it will only help Hamas, right? And now, and just the other day, he's doing the usual Zionist imperialist crap. And Maduro's a dictator, it's interesting that a guy who calls him a socialist hates like every socialist leader in the world. He says the same exact thing as all of the fascists say. And but now him and AOC are out storming, they're barnstorming, they're standing up against oligarchy. They supported oligarchy under Biden the whole time, and we still got oligarchy. It's not Biden or Trump that's ushering in oligarchy. What are your thoughts seeing Bernie running around here with AOC screaming about oligarchy and how we got to get together and stand up against oligarchy?
Garland, I would be furious right now if it wasn't so ridiculously funny to watch, because what we learned, as you mentioned, like being in, we come from the Bernie movement. We come from that idea that you can challenge your own party to do better. That was the whole point. That's why we got in the street. It was to stand up against the two-party oligarchy, as we know, the uniparty. And he was representing that. That's why all of us, hundreds of thousands of people, were on board with that. Not everybody figured it out. There's still people that are fooled, but a lot of us, like you said, we became homeless from that idea that you can't fight from within. So the idea that Bernie and AOC use even packaging with the verbiage of resistance is laughable. There's no resistance when you are going along with the narrative of your own party, of the mainstream media. That's not how resistance works. What we've learned is that resistance is about a ground up movement that the people have to form that challenge the system, that you're not going to get good thumbs up reviews on CNN and MSNBC. If you're aligned with their narrative, you're not resisting anything. So that's why it's very laughable watching them pretend, we got to stop Trump and all this stuff. It's the same old garbage. It's not resistance. And we've learned our lesson. So thank you, Bernie, for teaching us that.
Well, and I see this thing. AOC says Democrats need to elect brawlers who fight to defeat the GOP. Here's the hole in that. So what? We're going to beat the Democrat. We're going to beat the Republicans. Okay, so you beat the Republicans. Now what? What do we get? You know what I mean? It's like, hey, we beat the Republicans. Great. What are we going to get from you guys? Well, you're going to get war, genocide. And we're like, wait a minute. That's what we got with the remote. Yes, but you're going to get it from a diverse group of people here, and we're going to stand for diversity, and a diverse group of people will commit genocide. Now, when we bomb and slaughter the Palestinians, there'll be a diverse group of pilots. We're going to have females, we're going to have trans pilots, we're going to have a few people of color, indigenous people, just bombing the crap out of innocent people, slaughtering them. And don't even start me on the Houthis. We're going to murder them with an all-female group of pilots on the, and you're like, defeat the GOP. A long time ago, I said this. I heard AOC screaming about and then she comes back to Mama Bear after she screams about it. And I'm like, the game is AOC is allowed to scream about when Pelosi said, hey, the whatever back then, Tea Party is bad. Then the job of AOC, it says, no, they're really, really, really bad. She's allowed to be a megaphone for the people in charge of the party. And whatever they say, she's going to say it louder. But she's not allowed to turn back to Mama Bear and say, how come we're not providing health care for people? How come we're not helping people whose houses were burned down, villages washed away in North Carolina? How come a tornado smushed them? Can we help those? No, you're only allowed to say that the GOP is bad, and they must be defeated.
Yeah, Matt. No, it's a game plan they've got down to a T, and the Mama Bear thing. I mean, she gave it away when she coined that term. AOC did. She said this, and this was the person she was supposed to go in and challenge. That's what she took all the money from. That's what she took all the votes from. It was, we're going to go in, we're going to bring a ruckus to the Democratic Party, and I can get more done in one term than a lifetime if you challenge that system. That's what she collected all those votes and money from, and then she turned around and called her Mama Bear. So yeah, the signs were there. We saw it. It took some people a little longer, and that's okay. I hope there's people waking up now that can see that, wait, what are they doing right now? The resistance movement? The Democrats, the Biden administration started all these wars. They're the ones that are anti-worker. They're the ones that are doing all of the things that you're saying, oh, well, Trump and the GOP, they're the problem. No, but that's by design. This is a game plan. It's theater. And, there's enough of us waking up now. We're not going to fall for it anymore.
Well, you know what? I had a caller the other week. I don't know if we talked about it, but I had a caller and they were like upset over all the Doge layoff of employees. And I say, I'm 100% with you. I'm a working class person. And I know that they're going to lay off some poor bastard at the Department of Education, the Department of Agriculture, whatever, who's feeding their family. And that money ain't going to go back into the budget or to save you money. It's going to go to buy more missiles and bombs and update the nuclear weapons, because you got to be able to kill everybody in the world. Somebody might survive, and we got to make sure that nobody can survive, right? That's brilliant. I said, but you guys are opposed to that. I said, but 3 years ago, they were firing nurses, doctors, policemen, firemen, and the Democratic Party. Yeah, we got to fire them. They're a danger to everybody. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Like, this is a medical procedure. Don't you have a right? And isn't there a right under international law to, and they were screaming, yay. I will bet you that however many people that Doge fires, which I oppose, I'm enraged by it, right? That as many people were fired in this country because they wouldn't take the jab. We oppose firing regular old working class people because they won't take the jab. We oppose firing regular old working people at the Department of Agriculture because they're just they're feeding their families, they're going to take the money. But you have these conservatives who opposed firing people for the jab, but they're in favor of this. Then you got the liberals who oppose these firings, but they were in favor of, you know what I mean? Like, there's no consistency of people except people like us who say people should not be fired. These are working class people unless they come to work and punch a coworker or some shit like that. They're not actually doing their job fair enough.
Yeah. Well, imagine that, Garland, like actually having principle that you can apply to each situation, which we can do because we stepped out of that two-party duopoly, that uniparty, and we can see each case by case where you apply principle. And it's unfortunate that there's so few people that are able to do that. And that's where you get consistency from, because it's not about the team winning and the other team losing. It's about you apply this principle. No, you should not be firing people and hurting their lives because they like you said, because of the jab or whatever the reason is with the Doge firings. You should be on the side of the people. Why can't we just do that? Just be on the side of the people, regardless of the red or the blue that's pushing it. Same with all these other issues, the free speech issue and all these other things that it's like, oh, you didn't have principle the whole time. You were only for the January 6th protesters having protection of free speech, protection of the right to protest. You were only for that because that fit what you wanted. You don't want to apply that now when the protesters are getting arrested and being held without due process. That's okay because that doesn't fit what you want. So you never had principle from the beginning. So this is how we discover where people's moral compasses are and who they really are when the push comes to shove. And if you're not able to apply it to people you don't like, then you never had principle to begin with.
When I was with the ACLU, which now has become a crap hole, but back then, they actually stood for something. ACLU used to be a good organization. Now it's garbage. But I put it like this: I don't approve of the ACLU anymore. It's become just a political tool of the Democratic Party. And I mean, when you're taking it, like the last year I was there, like 2020, I was on the national board of directors. I don't know if I ever asked you this. The last year I was on the ACLU, 2022. Take a guess at how much money they brought in that year. Just a guess at how much money ACLU brought in that year.
In 2021, 2022. So this was during the lockdown. Was that a good year for them? Were they able to?
It ain't a bad year for them, but take a guess.
Well, I would say because of the CARES Act and anything like that apply. I don't know.
Let's say 2020. Okay. Just throw out a number. How much do you think the ACLU brought in that year?
I don't know. Maybe half a billion. Maybe I don't know.
300 million. 300 million. Okay. 300 million. Yeah. And I think we had about 900 and some billion in savings and all that kind of stuff. That's it. But you know where the money came from: Silicon Valley, you name it, the usual suspects. So you know what happens when you get that money? Your mouth starts to shut. You know what I mean? That money will glue your mouth shut, right? But when I worked for the ACLU, I remember a case that we had here. No, this was before I worked. I was on the board in Maryland. And this is what I'm talking about. Okay, when I say you got to stand on principle. So the KKK applied for a permit for something. And the state of Maryland said, no, you can't. Well, Anne Arundel County, a county said you can't do it. And the ACLU said, can't do that. You know what I mean? This little chapter of the KKK, don't agree with them. They had nothing but First Amendment rights. You can't do it based on their views. There can't be a big national KKK because of the lawsuit that shut them down, but there can be individual branches by law, as long as they don't do anything violate the law, whatever, right? So bottom line is this particular group had no history of violating the law. You may not like them, but fair enough. But you can't do that because of their views. Okay. I went on TV all over Maryland. I used to go on TV a lot. I was speaking for the ACLU all over Maryland, and they interviewed me. I said, no. I said, you got to give them a permit. This is the First Amendment, but they're evil. That's irrelevant. We got to stand for the First Amendment. This has nothing to do with the KKK. I said, I find their views abhorrent, which is particularly why they are protected by the free speech, because their views are abhorrent. The First Amendment protects what? Unpopular speech. People forget that. Unpopular speech. How do you judge First Amendment protections? Is it unpopular speech? That's where you're going to have problems. Okay. And people got mad. Garland, how could you do that? I'm like, do what? Stand for the First Amendment? Here's my point. So now what do we get? We're all for, no, we got to stop censorship against COVID. I agree. We got to stop censorship about Ukraine. I agree. What about I don't know, Israel and what's going on there? We got to crack down on that, man. Oh, no. Well, then how will I judge you? I can't judge you by the things that you agree with. Sure, you agree with me on COVID. I should be able to say that. Okay, you agree with me on Ukraine. I should be able to say that. Okay, you don't agree with me when it comes to the issue of Israel, Middle East, Zionism, all of those things. Okay, now I can judge you on that. Because you don't like that speech. What do you say? We got to stop it. You just failed the test. Yeah,
exactly. And then the other thing that's worth mentioning, and this part's important for people that don't understand, like as soon as you take the gas off and you say, this one doesn't matter to us. Then the next time, the thing that you were silent about is going to be used against you. That's how it works. So we have, and this is, and I brought up the January 6th thing because we were said, this is wrong. And we knew that if it was, and back to the Bernie thing, if it was in an alternate reality and Bernie was the president that year, and we would have been there on January 6th, and that would have been us being arrested. So we could see that we have to apply this to these people, because that's going to be us. It could have been us, and it will be us next. So people need to understand that right now, people getting arrested right now, this can be you next, regardless of your opinion on Israel and Palestine. Just understand that you being silent about it means it's going to be used against you next time.
Let me give you another example. So right now, the Trump administration is upset, validly so, because this guy in Romania, who's a right-wing guy I've got areas I definitely disagree with him on. But the Romanian people want him, and might I add, he's opposed to the war in Ukraine, and that's a good thing. So, but ultimately, whoever the hell they vote for, they should get him. Okay, so the EU steps in and says, "Nah, we support that," and the Trump administration, "That's bad, that's wrong, that's terrible." You know what I remember? Mike Pompeo worked for Trump back in 18, and there was an election in the UK, and Jeremy Corbyn was in the lead. And Mike Pompeo said, well, if it looks like Corbyn's going to win, we're not going to wait around to act. So if it looks like Corbyn's going to win, and we know what that was about, he's always been very pro-Palestinian, of course, and he ain't a crazy fascist like Starmer. So, hey, that wasn't going to work, right? Yeah. His own party took him out. But let's go back. This was under Trump. So what you say is, well, if a guy's going to win and I'm not aligned with him, democracy ain't so great. When a guy's going to win and he agrees with me on Ukraine or whatever, we need democracy. So you get, that's why the problem with the two-party system. Remember what's the Florida governor's name? The governor of Florida during COVID. This is terrible. We've got to stop this. Oh, the censorship. And then what happens as soon as the conflict starts heating up in the Middle East? Anybody who doesn't agree with Israel and support Israel, they can't get a government contract. We got to throw them out of schools. And I'm like, these people are such hypocrites. They stand for nothing.
Yeah. And that was a sad realization, Garland. We had, because we had aligned during COVID. We had aligned with a lot of, the medical freedom movement and all the people that were really championing the idea of free speech and championing the idea that you can't control people's lives like this, like the, bodily autonomy, all these things, right? But the free speech was a big deal. And then you have the same people, like you said, just do a 180 on that entire thing when it didn't fit their narrative. And we're like, so you didn't really have the principle at all. We did. We were like, man, we're building a real movement. And that was hard. That was hard to go through the COVID years that we seemed that we lost. And this seemed to happen right around, I think October 7th was a good marker. We could see what people really felt in their hearts. They weren't principled. This new war broke out between, and we're talking anti-Semitism. Oh, that's the biggest problem now. We have to forget all the stuff that we were talking about. Forget it all. Just throw it down the drain. This is the biggest threat to our country now. You're like, wait a minute. So our movement, unfortunately, the homeless movement, homeless left, or wherever you're homeless from, seemed to shrink a little. And that was hard, because I thought we were building a coalition. We were connecting with a populist movement on the right. We were trying to help educate people on the left. Maybe some of them have learned since then. That's great. But overall, it feels that the movement has lessened because people are so confused and they don't apply principle when they really, really need to, when it's inconvenient to do so. That's where the true test comes, like you said.
And I imagine it's difficult in Hollywood because, I was doing a show at KPFK in LA, and man, I got ran out of there. And I'm pretty sure it was over the stuff that I was saying, because I pushed back on all of this stuff, right? And particularly on COVID and the jab, but I was very, judicious about it, but it just wasn't even allowed. That's the other part that people don't talk about. There's traditional, maybe you're online, maybe you're, you can't be on YouTube, you get thrown off there, you get thrown off X, that kind of stuff, right? But if you're in a, industry trying to make a living, such as Hollywood, I can name other industries, and you don't go along, whether it's COVID or God forbid now, whether it's Zionism, Israel, Palestinians, that's even a worse, because it's one thing just to say I can't have an X account. It's another thing to say what I have trained for my entire life, and what I do for a living and what I'm good at, I can't be a part of that anymore because I don't agree with this group of people who run it all for one reason or another.
Yeah.
And the mindset throughout the whole, it's got to be rough working in Hollywood. I got to tell you that.
Yeah, it is. And you were talking earlier about the picking and choosing of what democracies we support outside, and the convenient element to that. There aren't very many people that have come out of Hollywood that have that right principle set. And there's one relationship I made here, and I'll tell you this quick story, Garland, and for your viewers. But I got really close to Ed Asner before he passed away.
Oh, he was awesome.
Yeah, we did some projects together. I directed him in some stuff. It was really cool. We had a really great relationship. There's a project I'm actually pushing right now that he put his name on right before he passed, and we're working on a movie about union organizing and challenging a union buster. So it's a great project. We've been putting it together for the last couple of years. But Ed told me a great story before he passed, and he said, the moment that he knew that Hollywood was going to blacklist him. It came in the early 80s. He was speaking in DC, and he was talking about his support for the El Salvadorian people and their right to, have the government that they choose to have. And a report, he was he was on the top 10 at the time. You remember he was doing the show Lou Grant, which was the character, the crossover character from Mary Tyler Moore, and so he was winning up the awards. He's one of the highest, Golden Globe winners and Emmy Award winners for TV and it's of all time. And so he's in the middle of this run with Lou Grant. So there's no reason to do this to a guy unless you know why. I mean, we know what happened. And so he told me this story that he was having this press conference in DC, and a reporter asked him, do you regret what your support for the El Salvadoran people because they chose a communist regime, and you were part of that. And what he did is he said, next question. He just said, I don't want to, he said it to me, like, I didn't want to answer the question. I don't want to put myself in that position. So he called on the next question, the next reporter who asked him a question. He said, I couldn't pay attention to that next question. I was just consumed with the previous question and feeling like, why am I passing on this? And so he interrupts the second reporter and says, I need to go back to the first one. I actually do need to answer this. I don't regret anything I did. I'm for supporting people, and whatever the hell government they want, they have a right to vote that in. And he says, when those words were coming out of my mouth, I knew Hollywood was going to cancel me. And they did. And Lou Grant was off the air. He was blackballed for the next several years. They made it up to him later, and he became president of SAG, and it was kind of this after the fact, but they already did this number on him. And I think it was Oliver Stone that kind of resurged him in the JFK movie, which is interesting to full circle there. But there was this period where he wasn't working, and it was because he said that thing, the thing that you just said, Garland, earlier about we don't hear people talk like that, especially in Hollywood. And since Ed Asner passed, there's not really many people here that stand up. There's like a handful that put their career on the line. It's very, very few of them, Garland. It's very sad to see. I mean, you have like Susan Sarandon. She's one that sticks out. That's willing to lose her representation at CAA. We call it CIAA, of course. That's our little. But there's not many that do that because once you get that Hollywood deal, once you're in that limelight, you have an obligation to, like you said, keep your mouth shut and stay in line with what we call now the woke. We call it Hollywoke. That's what we call it because you have to stay in line or you're screwed. And that's it. And it's really sad because this industry should be better than that. It should have people with more courage, people that have something to say. You're just not getting that here. And it's really sad. But Ed was one of the best.
Well, when I left the ACLU, I felt like it was reflective of what Hollywood is. You know what I mean? When I left it, I mean, it was just totally reflective. That's what it was. What you see in Hollywood, that was the ACLU in New York, exactly like that. Basically, it seemed to me whatever the position they took was whatever position the Democratic Party took. They got money flooded in like breaking a dam from the worst of the worst. You know what I mean? The people in Silicon Valley, Wall Street, all that stuff. The money just flooded in. And I remember sitting there having somebody tell me, yes, I wanted to punch my husband because he wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton. and it was just
Crazy.
like, and they had like hiring people like they'd hire some. I remember like when they hired this woman, and like when she comes in, the first thing she tells us is, "I'm a black queer female," and I'm like, I don't want to know about your sex life, lady. I wanted to know they hired you to do the job. The only problem is they like brought her in to inspect the numbers. What percentage of minorities, black, what percentage of people who identify as handicapped or this or that, you know what I mean? It was like, and they broke down these numbers. We have currently 4.631% of the people that work for us identify as this and that and blah. And I'm like, could we possibly sue somebody because they're doing the wrong thing? They're screwing over people. Oh no, we can't do that. We can't do that. They literally had to write a New York Times op-ed when I left. The ACLU wrote an op-ed that said the jab is safe and effective, and it actually, by being forced, that the mandates that you have to take a jab or be fired or you can't go in or do anything protects your civil rights as opposed to hurts them. And I'm like, oh, really? I guess so. Let me look at my watch. Time for me to get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? I'm out of here. And I wrote a letter and I'm like, not only am I leaving, do not ever associate my name with this organization again. And it's hard to be around these people because you feel like they're not rational. And it's like a very cultish. And I imagine you see the same thing. And it's very cultish and they're very hateful people.
It's full of
You don't
hate.
agree with them. They hate you. They hate anybody that disagrees with them.
Yeah. And let's be clear about that, the mandate. These were two separate issues. So we talk about the horrible effects of this thing and how many people it's hurt. But I like to talk about this part. Let's imagine that the thing they made everyone get actually, worked well and
it was fine. Yeah.
There were no problems. There's no problems. That is a separate issue. And by the way, we didn't want people to get hurt. We wanted them to be okay. That was never the point. This is a separate issue. How you treat people, forcing somebody to do something that they don't want to do, bullying them, shaming them, disinviting them from Thanksgiving and Christmas, shunning them, not to mention blackballing them from the industry they're in, because that happened. There's a lot of people that got run out of this town in Hollywood. We were just driving down, I think it was Hollywood Boulevard just yesterday. We saw a billboard of Dolly Parton. She's on a billboard right now. And she's representing a catchphrase of be nice to each other, be nice, empathy or whatever. There's something about just be good to each other. And I'm looking and I'm like, Dolly effing Parton's on the billboard saying be nice. She got on TV with her song, Jolene, changed the words to vaccine, played it, and then yelled and did a goofy smile as she's taunting and bullying people. Why are you so afraid to get this? Just get this thing. What's wrong with you? And she played vaccine. That happened. She never apologized for that. And I want to be absolutely clear. If this thing was actually, well, we know it was safe and effective. And
of course, I just had one this morning. I think, wait a minute. Oh, I got a drink of. There we go. This isn't water. It's actually filled with this very safe and effective substance. I drink it down constantly. It's YouTube can tell you it's safe and effective as it can possibly be.
And you can 100% double down on that and say no, not one person got hurt from this. Great. Guess what? You still acted like a jackass. You still hurt people by bullying and shaming them and mocking them and Xing them from society. You did that and you never accounted for that. You never apologized for that. And now you're on a billboard talking about treating everybody nicely and with kindness. No, we're not going to forget. We're never going to forget how you behaved and the lives you destroyed and the people you ran out of this town. There's people that ran out of Hollywood because of the way you behaved. And we're not going to forget it.
It's interesting because this really aligns with the conversation that we're having. And that is the people at these colleges that are getting grabbed by the cops, dragged out for protesting, taken away, thrown out of the country, right? Whatever the case may be. And the people during the, time period for the very safe and effective substance that everybody should get daily, I might add. My point has always been this. I don't care what the substance is, what the subject is. We should be able to protest government policy. Because at the time, I was like this. Look, if somebody owns a deli and they say, I don't want anybody else in unless they're, have taken this safe and effective substance. I would say I disagree with that, but you own that deli. Hey, it's going to hurt your business. Screw you. I ain't eating there. And we can all do that. And if we want to, we can march in front of the deli with a sign, screw this place. We're never going to eat his friggin', sandwiches again. And that's our right. His right as the deli owner is to say you can't come in unless you've got this. And my right is to protest in front of the deli and say, that's great. No problem. We can do this. And I ain't going to be mad at the deli owner. It's yours. I'll disagree with them, but you own that deli. You want to hurt your business, you go right ahead.
Yeah.
When the government says you have to do this, when the government says if you have a contract with the government, you got to fire people that don't do this, right? When the government does these kinds of things, when the government mandates these kind of things, I have a right to protest government policy. When the government says we're going to support these people that are bombing civilians, that's government foreign policy. I should always have a right, whether you agree with it or not. I could be the only people. The government could say we're going to give everybody a banana. They're nice and healthy. They got magnesium in it, and I can say I don't think people should eat bananas. Somebody could be allergic to it. Sounds like a good thing, but I have a right to oppose that policy. Don't lock me out because it's government policy. And to me, that's where it aligns. I don't care if it's Trump in. I don't care if it's Biden in. What we're talking about is people who oppose government policy. And now we have entire industries and businesses saying we're going to align and join with the government and represent the government. We're going to be the leading edge of government policy. And those of you who oppose government policy will be subject to punishment as a result, whether it's punishment by the government or those of us who align with government. This is about the right to oppose and to use our speech to oppose government policy.
Yeah. Well, that's what the protesting is about on the college campuses. That's what it's been about all through last year up till now. Mahmoud Khalil, the entire situation at Columbia U, we know here at UCLA, it's always been about demanding that the divestment of these horrible policies that go to funding war crimes in Israel. This was about getting the colleges to agree not to invest in this anymore. That's what it's about, to dissociate with genocide. That's what it's about. And when you mention the government has control of these campuses, and they do things like what we saw Trump basically say, we're taking away all your funding at Columbia, and now it's forcing Columbia to have to cooperate and do this. Okay, what can we do to get our money back? What do you need us to do? Oh, you need us to say we have an anti-Semitism problem on the campus. Whatever you want, we'll say it. We'll do it. We just need our money back. So that's government capture. That's corporatism. That's everything that we fought against. And and the right is pushing this and pushing it like crazy right now. And they don't understand what the protesting is even about. I mean, we just saw this. Jill Stein is now facing criminal charges. They're misdemeanors, but for attacking the officer that arrested her back in April. They just brought out the charges. She has to go to court for assaulting a police officer. This is insane. We saw the footage. They're attacking her. It's insane. This is a presidential candidate who now has to go to court for assault. There's no evidence of any of this, but they like to create these narratives that the violence is coming from the protesters. These are peaceful protesters. We know this. We were at UCLA. We saw it for ourselves. And this is some good news. I want your viewers to hear this. The students and faculty are just sued UCLA for letting all of these masked men in pipes and people coming and basically destroying their camps that were set up last April and all through into the summer. They're now suing them. That's great, because UCLA was complicit with the riot police they sent in to bully and hurt and harm these people. So you have to push back on this. So we saw that lawsuit happened now. So this is good. But the media was in on it. Everybody was in on it. The Zionists nearby in Westwood, they arrived. They pretended to be students. They just come and attack these people. But you have to fight back. So we saw that that's happening. So that's a good thing. Trying to get some justice there, which what happened at UCLA. And I hope all the campuses get sued for their involvement in stopping the First Amendment right of free speech. Like you said, we can challenge government. We have a right to do that. That's in our Constitution.
Well, and it gets back to where we started. Okay, Bernie and AOC are standing or stand against the oligarchy tour or something like that, right? What the hell does
Resistance.
that mean?
Yeah.
What the hell does that mean? We got to stand against the oligarch. What the hell does that mean? It sounds great. Hey, stand against oligarchs. I'm all for that. But what are the specifics? Are you on stage saying we want to stop this? But now Bernie, I haven't heard him standing there screaming out against people getting arrested. I haven't heard AOC do it. So what they'll do is they'll go on stage. I don't know if you saw it. There was recently a poll, which I'm happy about. 29% support for Democrats for like the CBS poll and the ABC poll. I think I might have it backwards, was 27%. In other words, people are like, screw these people. I don't need them, right? And they're not happy with the Republicans either, but they're like, hey, they realize the Democrats are a fraud. So they're going to go out and give this broad rhetoric. Stand up against the oligarchs. That's all we get is broad rhetoric. Somebody needs to say, okay, we got to, I'll put it like this. One of the things that is good about this is that people are learning the truth about these two parties.
Yeah.
Both of them are going to stand up and say, I oppose something, but they both have their pet projects, as it were. And usually they're the same pet project most of the time with Zionism, that's for sure. And whichever pet project their party is, that's an exception. None of the laws, none of the rules, none of the principles they stand apply to it. And then they'll go in and try to say, I'm going to apply my principle of censorship or free speech to this. What about your pet project? No, except the Israel now. We don't ask me to apply any standards, what principles, which means you have none.
Yeah. No, that's 100% it. Bernie doesn't care about people getting arrested. He arrests people at his own rallies, people that showed up to protest Ukraine money. And he goes up, he goes, who are you with? Who's paying you? Who's paying you? Who's paying you? He's doing that. Those are the same talking points we're hearing from Trump right now. He's no different than Trump. We know that Bernie did a campaign with Dick Cheney to help get Kamala elected. Let's not forget that. Like, hey, we disagree on some stuff, but one thing we agree on is we have to stop Trump. And it's just like, dude, you are just aligning with neocon values. If you actually made it into presidency, we would have to deal with your policies, your neocon, neolib policies that were completely against everything you ran on. So he's no different than Trump. He's no different than any of these people that apply when they want to apply something, and then they're silent when it's time to be silent, and then they attack when it's time to attack. No principle at all. No principle. And one more indication of that with Bernie is the pharma stuff. Because the way we do the impression, right? We're going to take on big pharma. We're going to take on the military industrial complex. These were the rallying cries that got hundreds of thousands of people in the street. What do you mean, Bernie? We're going to take on big pharma. We just saw a few weeks ago. We just saw you sit there and protect big pharma as RFK Jr. is trying to get in as the Health and Human Services Secretary. You're protecting big pharma. You're saying, how dare you, Mr. Kennedy, accuse me of taking money. I knew you were going to do it. I knew it. So we saw that, dude. Like, you're not taking on anything, and you don't care. You don't care when people get arrested. You don't care about anything. This tour that he's doing with AOC is a complete joke, and I would be more angry about it. But like I said earlier, Garland, it's just hilarious. It's laughable. Let's have a laugh. We don't have to. Let's not get angry this time. It's funny. Resistance of what, dude? Come on.
Oh, he's resistance anti-war people. He's resisting that. He's resisting those of us who are like and don't oppose. Now, here's the thing: how can you be anti-oligarch and pro-corporate, anti-oligarch and pro-big pharma, you know what I mean? Anti-oligarch and pro-like empire? How can you be anti? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I don't even know what anti-oligarch. What does that mean? You know what it means? It means they don't like Musk. That's all it really means. We must stand up against the oligarchs. What does that mean? That means that it's popular amongst the liberals to not like Musk. Look, I don't support Musk. I don't support Soros. I don't support any of the billionaires. Okay, but not just. I don't like billionaires. Period. If you ask me why, I can give you some substantive policy, some substantive reasons of why I oppose these, whoever it is, Bloomberg. The Democrats love this friggin' maniac sociopath, right? I could go on and on and on, but I'm not just going to say, I oppose the oligarchs in general. everything they want to do. I'm gonna give them a hand doing that. But in general, I don't like the word oligarch. Starts with an O. It should be a K at the end and not the CH. So screw that word. It's a terrible word. Let's stick with spelling it different, and I might be okay with it. I'm gonna get out of here.
It's so sad, Garland, to see the lefties, I guess, these vote blue no matter who's getting their pecking orders about which billionaires it's time to hate and which ones not to hate. And so they're told to hate it, Elon Musk, and they're ready for their pecking order. Here we go. Let's go. Hate, hate, hate. Let's destroy some Teslas. Hate, hate, hate. Because we hate billionaires, and that's their life. We just can't stand it when billionaires that are unelected are making policy for us. Really? Where were you with Bill Gates? Unelected Bill Gates was making health policy for us. Oh, that didn't matter to you. Where were you when Jeff Bezos was single-handedly pushing the shutdown of all the small businesses that you saw that happen in real time? The Amazon had a free pass while everybody else couldn't. You couldn't go into a local mom and pop shop, but you can buy on Amazon, and all those workers, and we know that whole story. So no. Oh, only time to hate Jeff Bezos when he shows up at a Trump rally. I get it. You didn't care that he bought the Washington Post years ago. You didn't care that organization was corrupt from the second he walked on that stage. You don't care about that. You only care when it's time to hate the billionaires. You mentioned George Soros. We don't care about that. We see the new DNC leader of the DNC gets up on the stage a couple months ago and says, we're the party that is for we only align with good billionaires, not the bad ones. And everyone's like, yeah, good billion. No, have some damn principle. Understand that the billionaire class that Bernie pretended to take on is a real thing, and we are against all of them because that there's something inherently upsetting about people having that much power. So you should be able to apply that not just to Elon, but to anybody that has massive amount of money and massive amount of influence, like a Bill Gates, like an Anthony Fauci, by the way, highest paid health official in human history. The guy can just throw money at people, bribe money, whatever he wants to do, go on TV whenever he wants. You had no problem with that either. So come on, guys, let's start applying some principle to how we look at the world and not just wait till your leader of your tribe gives you the order. Now it's time to hate. Now it's time to blow up some Teslas. No, do it on your own. Figure it out on your own. Have some critical thinking.
Well, it's like, let's talk also, all of these people have in their mind about how wonderful Musk is on X, right? Well, I'm sure you know my story on X. I ain't on X.
Yeah.
I ain't on X.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so great. Well, then why in the hell do I pay? Literally, I have, let me find it right now. Well, I'm not going to do it, but I have an account on X. I pay for the damn account. It's got a blue check mark on it. Yeah. It's my name. I pay. They take the money out of my account for X. Yeah. They took it out in 2023. When 2 months later, they took it out for a year. 2 months later, you're out of here, buddy. 2024, I'm like, oh, well, they don't take it down. They went in and scrubbed the account for some reason. And I look, hey, what the hell? They just took my money out again. Wow. But they don't know who owns the account. Okay. But yet, we got to hear of how great a free speech advocate he is. And you know what? I know somebody else the same thing happened to. And I see numerous instances on X of people who, like, as we said, you said the wrong thing. Or maybe the government didn't want it. Or maybe they're just crooked. Maybe they just throw you off. And what the hell? We'll keep taking your money. What do we care? There's nothing you can do about it. They're criminals. They're fraudsters. They're money. What, you're going to take a year's money from an average schmuck like me? You're worth billions of dollars, but they don't care. There's nothing you can do about it, really. So, but people think, oh, yes, Elon Musk is there to provide free speech. What a joke.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they need to understand why are we hating Elon Musk? Are you hating him because you think he put he did a Nazi salute? That's like the complete wrong reason to be upset at this guy. But there's so many people here. I'm telling you, Garland, they fell for that one. Oh, they fell for that one.
Yeah, but they love the Azov Battalion in Ukraine. That's okay. Azov Battalion, they're doing this. They're great guys. They're just little old freedom fighters. Yeah. Perhaps they goose step every now and then. Who doesn't? Give them a break.
I like how they deflect that one. Oh, come on. There's Nazis in every part of the world. Why are you guys? No. Well, oh, really? There's military that wear swastikas on their uniforms and do. Are you kidding? That's a thing? Oh yeah, no, it's everywhere. Come on. No. So again, Elon is a Nazi for making a weird hand gesture, but you're gonna, great point, Garland. it's just, again, it's back to the picky choosy. Give me my pecking orders. Tell me what to be upset at. Oh, tell me when it's time to be joyful. Oh, time to be joyful. Yay, Kamala. Oh, right. Time to be hope and change, Obama. Time to be angry, Elon. So it's like, stop waiting to be told what to feel and what to be mad about. Start making your decisions for yourself and apply some damn principle for once. We will be better off as a people. People could figure out how to do that.
Well, let's talk about Hollywood. Snow White is out.
Oh my gosh. This is insane. The insane timing on this. So people know, if you don't know, a big Zionist, Gal Gadot, AKA Wonder Woman, she's in the Snow White movie. Okay. And so Snow White comes out. There's protesting on this, and that's great. We like the fact that people are boycotting this movie. We had a similar situation with the Captain America 4 a few months ago, where there's these all-out Zionists participating in these films and marketing and pushing the Israeli narrative and the Greater Israel Project, all this stuff. So Gal Gadot personally, now she actually was part of the IDF. She's an actual, So this is not just,
was.
Well, she's still, once you're in, right? She's gone through the whole thing. She's probably killed some people too. That's the thing. So here you got Gal Gadot, who they randomly think this is what a great time to give her a star on Hollywood Boulevard. Really, Snow White was the most abysmal turnout. The ratings are horrible. This is like the worst timing to take an actress who has not, let's be clear, she's not been around that long. And usually it takes about at least 25 years of a good resume of good work to get a star on Hollywood Boulevard. And a lot of people say, she's a mediocre actress. She's not that great. So on top of that, but putting the fact that she's not a great actress aside, you haven't been here long. You just went into this major bomb of a film. The timing of it is on purpose, Garland. This isn't an accident. We have to push this. We have to do this. And so they gave her this ceremony. It was protested. But of course, the protesters there was all these police that showed up, and you had to be across the street from her. She was protected in this little tent as they did the ceremony. And that happened. And now look, I'll say the good news. There's more people waking up to this, and they're sharing it. Like we're seeing people understanding more about the Zionist problem here in Hollywood, and they're getting more vocal about it. We weren't allowed to actually talk about this at all, before pre-October 7th. But now we know we can at least start to have this conversation. But yeah, we have to continue to boycott these films. And just be vocal and show up to these things and let our voices be heard. But yeah, Gal Gadot, what a joke. Star on Hollywood Boulevard. It really just lessens that used to be a big deal, like a Hollywood Boulevard star. And now you have these kind of moments that are created to push the Zionist agenda. It just really puts a bad taste in my mouth, at least, for even just walking down Hollywood Boulevard at all and just being like, man, what a joke. What a joke.
Let me find something I want everybody to see. And this is from, let me find it. Okay. Let me find this picture. I want to show everybody. So just for the people that don't know, in Captain America, there was, if I can find it, there was a character by the name of Sabra, right?
Yeah. Sabra, yes.
Right. Yes. Sabra in Captain America, and it's a Brave New World. It's still Israeli, but not Mossad and no longer a mutant. So this was, a superhero named Sabra in Captain America. And a lot of people, were unhappy with that, saying, what the hell are we doing with it? Now, if you're wondering why people were upset, because they tried to play it off. No. Sabra is not a Mossad person, just happens to be Israeli. Why, you're a hateful anti-Semite for out there. So here is the original.
Yeah, from the Marvel Comics. Yeah.
From the Marvel Comics. Yeah, this was Sabra.
That's from the 80s.
Now, there we go. That's the original Marvel Comics Sabra with the Israeli flag with the blue and white. And Sabra was one of two towns where there was a massacre of Palestinians. Okay. So this person was a Mossad superhero who was named after a town where there was a massacre of Palestinians in Marvel Comics. So they bring this person into Brave New World, still named Sabra, and they're like, but the person's not a Mossad agent anymore. They're just an Israeli person who just happens to be named after a town where they massacred Palestinians at a time when they're massacring South Palestinians. Your thoughts on that?
No, the timing is insane, and like the fact that they have to clarify, go, no, oh, you guys are freaking out. It's no longer this, no longer that. Well, no, you're still using this character. And Marvel, you guys, anybody who knows about the Marvel universe knows there are a ton. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of characters to choose from. So many. Why do you have to do this? And why now? Why are you throwing this character in a Captain America film now? You have so many mutants and people to choose from over so many years of great storytelling. And you deliberately chose this character to push this agenda, the Zionist agenda here in Hollywood, and people saw it. And here's the thing that also needs to be mentioned, Garland. And Captain America got the worst ratings ever.
Another horrible movie.
Horrible movie. The process they went through. Now, this part they tried to keep secret. They try to keep this secret. And they have to do this when they do these test screenings. They don't. When you go into a test screening, you're signing up. You're saying, I'm not with the industry. I'm signing. I will not say anything. I will not post anything. They do these test screens so the audience can give feedback to the film, and then they have a budget ready to go. Like Disney gives them a budget for reshoots. And so Captain America apparently went through 3 different processes of test screenings and reshoots. They couldn't figure out how to make this film work for audiences. And one of the theories is this character. This character was a Mossad agent, was a big part of this film. And audiences that signed the NDA, showed up, watched the screening, and I would have loved to be a fly on the wall in that room. And you were not allowed to talk about this, so it's very hard to understand what happened in these rooms. But I can tell you what happened after each screening. They had to plan more reshoots and more millions and millions of dollars Disney spent to try and fix the problem. What was the problem? Probably several problems. It wasn't just this character, but they're having a problem telling stories that audiences are saying, oh yeah, that's a great film. They hated this film, and they still do after 3 different reshoots. And I suspect a big deal was this Mossad character that was very prominent in early versions that now it's not so prominent. Oh, thank you for not making it so prominent.
Well, it seems to me, how long can Hollywood go on? Because I mean, at some point you got to try to don't you have to turn a profit? I'm looking at the crap that comes out, and it's like, oh, there's a new Hollywood movie coming out. I wonder what it's about. Oh, they won't tell you. It doesn't matter what it's about. Guess what? We've got a diverse group of women. In real life, it was a thing where 4 men were killed. But in this movie, it's going to be a diverse group of women that actually weren't killed. In real life, they were all run over by a tractor trailer or something. We're going to make a movie about it. In this movie, it's going to be a diverse group of women who run over a bunch of men with tractor trailers, right? And the writing, all written by a diverse group of lesbian women. And then the people who are like running the camera people are all going to be, non-gender. And you're like, get to what the hell the movie's about. We weren't worried about that. The movie sucks. But what's important? And they give you everything. And then the movie like bombs. And then everybody goes online. Yeah, it's a bunch of racist and sexist pigs wouldn't go see the movie. And they make no money. How much did it cost? $395 million to make the movie. How much did it make? I think $11. How long can you keep that business model up? That's my question.
No, this is not a sustainable model, Garland. This is not. We're seeing the end of Hollywood in real time. It's happening. And we spoke earlier about this. About there's a film search happening in Austin, other places where independent film model is being reinvented, and kind of the anti-studio kind of pushback, which we need. And so we have A-listers, people like Woody Harrelson, Matthew McConaughey, going into other areas where they can be part of films that aren't going to be these overdone budgets and these Disney sellout pieces, like you said, that keep giving you these DEI check boxes marked, because audiences are not responding to that, and they're failing. And then you add the AI thing into the mix, it gets even more insane, that you're not even allowing humans to write their own stories and the things that they want to say, and the passion of the filmmaker it's just gone. So we need more pushback, like these independent filmmakers, like we're trying to do. We're looking at ways to shoot films outside of Hollywood. This is not where we want to do this anymore. This place it's crumbling in real time, and we see it at every award show. We see it. We see the pushback online, like you said. I mean, people go online, they say these movies suck. Oh, you're racist, you're sexist. No, the movie actually sucks. And that's it. So So this is going to end at some point. It's a gradual process, but we're seeing it. We're seeing the end of it happen in real time.
Well, I recall somebody asked me recently on one of these, so they were like, "Oh yeah, remember the movie this cartoon? We were talking about old cartoons, and they said Thundar the Barbarian." I thought, "Oh my God, I love that." They said, "Yeah, I love Thundar the Barbarian," with the Skeletor and all that stuff, right? That was fun stuff, right? And they were like, "Yeah," and I said, "They did a remake of it." They're like, "Really?" I said, "Well, first of all, Thundar was a woman."
Yep.
And who had a diverse friend, right? It was Thundar was a woman, and she had a black friend. It seemed to be a little bit more than friends, if you know what I mean. So Thundar was a gay woman with a girlfriend, and she led a band of barbarians who were vegan.
This is insane.
Literally, they were vegan. A gay female Thundar, and all the barbarians were vegans. Barbarians ain't vegans. Barbarians are not vegans.
So that doesn't make any sense. And you're taking a brand and you're just flipping it upside down, and you're saying F you to the original fans of this thing. Why don't you just create another thing? Why do you have to use a thing that already has a story, there's a legacy to it, there's a brand to it? Why are you taking that and turning it upside down and throwing it in people's faces? Just create a lesbian vegan universe that's from scratch. Like have an original idea. If you think that's such a great idea, go do it. Stop taking things that already exist and turning it upside down. I think people are getting sick of that, because it's showing us that you disrespecting a brand, a franchise, an audience that was already there and already like committed to this thing. You're disrespecting them, and you're showing us that you have no original idea in your head, because you gotta steal other stuff and turn it into what you want. Why don't you just make your own thing? Come on. Where's an original idea? Why is everything a remake, a brand, a repackaging? We're gonna do it like this. We're gonna do it like that. Make your own thing. Have an original effing idea for once, Hollywood. Come on.
Everyone, because every show is the same. Every movie, everyone is the same movie. A diverse group of women. Always start off with that. A diverse group of women who are probably gay and probably vegan and all of the above. You know what I mean? And then a diverse group of men. I literally, I forgot what movie I was watching, or show, whatever it was. And so they had a big crowd of people, maybe 30 or 40 people, right? And when you looked at the crowd, it was like they must have tried to find every different ethnicity they could for the crowd. It was like, I think the crowd was so big because they probably just thought of every different ethnicity. Do we have an Eskimo? I don't know. What kind of Eskimo? Inuit or not? Get them both. Next. You know what I mean? And I'm like, you know what it is? I said this, it's not entertainment. It is a cultural lesson. That's all you get from Hollywood, a cultural lesson, a cultural statement. Look at us. We are good people. We love everyone. And we show, even Nazis, but we hate Nazis, but we love them. Everyone we're in favor of. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't need a cultural lesson, dude. I want a werewolf movie. And werewolves mangle people. And I don't want a vegan werewolf. The day I see a damn vegan werewolf, that's when I'm probably going to lose it. But it's coming. There's going to be a gay vegan werewolf, guaranteed.
I mean, that would be a comedy for sure. That can't be real. That doesn't make any sense.
It's coming.
You're right. It's coming. You're right. You're right about that, Gon. Look, what is the solution here? It's that we have to push back on this. We have to have artists and filmmakers with courage, with a backbone. Maybe it is the people that we talked about earlier, about people getting run out of this town because they had courage and conviction not to just sign up for this thing, this safe and effective thing, and they had the courage to stand up. Say, I'm not going to do that. They got ran out of town. Well, look, who cares getting run out of this town? Let's figure out other ways we can do this without being dependent on these big studio sellout Zionist cults that are going to dictate to you what the latest woke trend is. We're done with that. Let's get back to what artists are supposed to be, and that's coming with courage, with authenticity, with strong visions, with stories that are original and unique and can drive audiences. And we expect more, because we need to give our audiences more credit too. We got to start treating them with respect when they walk in the theater, when they turn on our show, our movie. We have to give them the respect that they deserve better. They deserve a better experience. They deserve a more intelligent experience, a more thoughtful experience that's going to leave a lasting impact on them, like we used to do in Hollywood of old. we need to find a way to bring that back. So we're working on it, Garland. I assure you, we're working on it. And yeah, we're not gonna
it's
stop.
what we were, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It is the hate of that liberalism has become, so that they literally make a movie, and automatically once they make the movie, because they know it's a moral movie, anyone who doesn't like it or disagrees or just thinks it's a bad movie, they don't just say you disagree, they literally hate you. You are their absolute enemy. I did want to ask you this before we go, and that is, I don't know if we talked about it, but get a comment on it. You know, Trump runs, oh, judge me by the wars I stop, all that crap. Oh, I'm going to stop wars. Well, he ain't stopped any, and he doesn't seem to be doing all of that great a job of trying to stop them, but running off at the yap a lot. He seems, right now, I have to be honest, he seems fairly incompetent when it comes to the Russia thing. His team, not him, I'm going to say the collective Trump. The team seems fairly incompetent, to be quite frank, when it comes to the Russia thing. I believe that Trump really does want a deal. Whatever reason, we could talk about, well, he really wants to go to war elsewhere, whatever. But I believe he wants a deal with Russia. But it seems to me that they're not really all that competent in their ability to get one. And you're totally discredited because, like, oh, judge me, I want to stop a war here. Why? Well, I got a bomb over here, and they're threatening Iran, do this what I want within 2 months, or I'm going to here's the way I would put it, because if Trump attacks Iran, the way it'll probably go will effectively end his presidency. So it's like he's saying, that, our economy is going to go to hell. People are going to be enraged when you start a war. There's dead Americans all over the place. Bases blown up. Gas is $20 a gallon. The economy's collapsing. So you're saying, look, I've been in here for 2 months, and Iran, you better do what I want within 2 months, or my presidency will effectively be 4 months long, because I will end it. I end my presidency by doing the bidding of the lunatics. Your thoughts on the just another disappointment?
Well, I might go even further than you, Garland, on this. It might, this is worse than incompetence, because when you label it incompetence, there's a suggestion, there's an idea that you can get more competent people in there to do it right. And that is what's looking like to us here when we see, the JFK files, and we see the people that Trump has aligned himself with. It's like he's not really in charge here. He's not. You have a Zionist faction we know that AIPAC controls our entire government. We know that these people he's assigned, the Rubios, Tulsi Gabbard did a 180 on Yemen. I mean, all of these values.
She's discredited. She's discredited herself after 8 years since 2016 of building up her street cred. She discredited it herself in 8 weeks. That's pathetic.
Yeah, the whole thing about we have to take on these never-ending wars. You are this thing, and it's not incompetence, Garland. I'll go further and say it's a total capture. The deep state is captured. This administration is completely controlled by it, and the thing that they ran on, they were going to fight. So even the Russia-Ukraine, even though that's something that it looks like he wants to end, he might not even be a Zionist himself. I don't even think Trump is a Zionist himself. I think that he has no choice. And I'm not trying to get sympathy points for him.
No, I know. Yeah.
It's like blink twice if you need help, Trump. That's where we're at. That's where you're at. He got a little of these files out. You can see the Israel element being completely redacted from this, and said out loud, the CIA requested Israel is redacted from all this. Is that Trump's SOS to us? Is that him saying, on one side he goes, no, the president is the most powerful position on the planet? Really? Then why so no, that's not true. You know that you can't actually talk about the real thing. You can't talk to Netanyahu like you talk to Zelensky. We saw that. We saw it like back to back. Here's how you pulled the chair out for Netanyahu. You're kissing his ass. You yell at Zelensky. That's you're showing us that you're not in charge. You're showing us that there is a pecking order of who's actually running this country. And that's the saddest thing. And I know it sounds dark, and maybe we've been red pilled.
No, it's true.
We've been black pilled. We're beyond red pilled here, Garland. We're black pilled. We understand that the entire system is 100% controlled and corrupt, and there's nothing Trump or anyone or a Bernie or an AOC, something anybody can do about it. I think that the only thing we can do is fight outside of this government system and fight on the ground, like the people in Yemen are doing. I mean, the most courageous people on the planet are the poorest people in the Middle East, and they are in the streets right now for Palestine. I mean, with nothing to lose. That's how we have to be. We have to start behaving like the people in Yemen and stand up to our own government and say, no, there's no MAGA that's going to come save us. There's certainly no Bernie and AOC that's going to come save us. We have to do it ourselves on the street. That's it. So this is well beyond incompetence. This is a curtain pulled back moment where we recognize that no, the president of the United States is not the most powerful person. He's the least powerful person. It's the Zionist lobby that controls everything. We have to be better at seeing that and align a real people's movement on the ground, Garland. That's the only way we can do anything about this.
I agree. I didn't vote for Trump. And it was, I voted for Jill Stein, and it was over the whole, the Gaza issue and the Zionist issue and all. And I'm like, look, I can never vote for one of these parties because, I had hope, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, ultimately, I know what you always get from these two parties, right? That they are. I put it like this: a lot of times on Friday mornings, I have Jody Brower on her. She's an absolute avowed socialist communist, and guess what she says? This is imperialist, Garland. This is imperial. Like what you're saying, she says every week. She says, this is imperialism. This is what this system, creates. I remember talking about AOC a while back, and I said, for her to say, I'm going to go to Washington and change things. Look, that's like saying, you know what, the mafia, they need a new Don, and I'm going to become the Don of the Lucchese, of the Bonanno family. But we're going to be we're not going to do, rob, drugs, prostitution, illegal gambling. They're not doing all that stuff. We're going to clean the streets up and be nice. When you join the mafia, you know what they do for a living. Let's not try to pretend that you ain't going to be involved in that. That the mafia was doing it before you got there, and they'll be doing it when you leave. I have many times said, in my opinion, the U.S. government is an organized crime group. I always put it like this. Americans think they're on a luxury liner. They ain't. They're on a pirate ship.
Yeah.
We go around the world stealing people's shit, overthrowing their governments, rubbing out their leaders. And we did it before Trump. We'll do it during Trump and after Trump. But Trump, in a way, was perfect. You know what I mean? Because he's an actor. And, is it an accident that Zelensky is an actor? Reagan was an actor.
No,
Trump is an actor. No. Do you see where I'm going with that?
Oh, yeah. That's it. Yeah. Hand selected right from Hollywood or from whatever wood you came from. They handpicked. Great job on the screen. You'll resonate well on the screen. We're going to need you more screen time for you. So here's your script. Here you go. Yeah, exactly. Well, good point there. I just hope that like I mentioned the Yemen people on the ground. This is also worth noting. There's Israelis on the ground right now. They're protesting in Tel Aviv. They're on the streets right now, demanding that Netanyahu gets back to the ceasefire agreement and do the thing that so they know they see the corruption and they're getting their asses kicked. The police are beating the crap out of Israeli protesters in Tel Aviv right now. That's happening. And we saw this morning, early morning, that Israel has bombed this Turkish Friendship Hospital, which is the only cancer hospital in Gaza. This is the thing that Trump greenlit to go, told Netanyahu, go do it. So if people in Tel Aviv understand this is corrupt, and they're in the streets of demanding Netanyahu change his mind on this, why are we not in the streets right now demanding that Trump stop this madness, stop whatever you're doing, the green lighting, the antagonizing, the pushing, like you said, the war with Iran? What is wrong with you? You're out of your mind, and you're clearly not in charge here. So whatever the case may be, we have to get as angry as the people in Tel Aviv, the people in Yemen, and we're just not. We're not willing to get off our couches and go out there and do something about it, because the rest of the people in the world are. Even in Israel, they're doing it. My God, I mean, if they can, they're doing it. We got to do it.
Yeah. Oh, Trump with Ukraine. Yeah. Can we get your rare earth minerals? Oh, wait a minute. Can we take over? We'll run your power plants. The only thing is this, and this is what I'll use this word imperialism's about: extracting wealth. Well, you know what? When they took over Ukraine, Biden and his team went in and extracted all the wealth they can. Let's get on the board of this. Let's take the money. Ooh, BlackRock's coming in. They're going to buy up the good ground to growth thing. Everybody goes in there. They go into Ukraine. They extract wealth. Now, Trump's like, well, this gig is over, man. It looks like this ATM is going to close down. On the way out, how can we get ours? We stole all we could on the way in. On the way out, how can we stay? There may be something that ain't nailed down. There may be something laying around. Let's steal everything we can. So in the guise of, oh, we got to get out, they're looking at it. And here's the other thing they're looking at. The war's lost. There ain't no more money we can get out of this. And there ain't a whole lot else. And let's close this down. I mean, it's lost. What's the point of going on? You know, like a lot of these people, they got a corporation. You take a corporation, they buy. I saw it done with a corporation I used to work for. You come in, they buy the corporation, number one, and they see, how much can this corporation buy? Well, this corporation, maybe it's worth 20 million, but it has $50 million in credit. They take out a $50 million loan. They keep that. They let the corporation rot on the vine. What do they care? I bought a corporation for the amount of credit that it had. And I took out every dime that the credit could borrow. I borrowed that money and then I paid myself fees for, they would literally this is for consultant fees, whatever. Imagine that. I buy a gas station and I say, how much credit does the gas station have? I buy a gas station for $1 million. Oh, it has $8 million in credit. I borrowed $8 million. And I just let the gas station close down and go bankrupt. The employees are screwed. The people who use that big gas station in the community, they're screwed. Everybody's screwed. I just bought it as a financial tool. That's what the mafia used to do with businesses. Yep. That was literally a mafia scam. And now that's all they're doing with Ukraine. It's another mafia scam. How can we make money? Zelensky made billions. All these oligarchs, everybody got paid. And these idiots ran around Hollywood. I was in Annapolis the other day, another place, lots of money in Annapolis, right? Beautiful homes built in 17 something, very, very big wealth in Hollywood, all in that part of the county that I live in, major wealth, right? And there's all of these signs. I support Ukraine. You see all the blue and yellow bullshit on their cars and all of these wealthy liberals running around with their I support Ukraine. It's all the money. I know Ukraine's a money scam. Yeah, did they want to hurt Russia or whatever? Yes, they had a plan. But while they were doing it, they were going to fill their filthy, stinking pockets. And now Trump's going to fill his. I've read something where they said today, it said Trump saying perhaps on Crimea, we could open a gigantic resort. Yeah, and I'm sure it'll have the name Trump on it. First of all, the Russians aren't stupid. They're going to play him. They understand what he's doing. But they're revealing that when it comes down to it, 1 million people dead, 1.2 million Ukrainians dead, at least 3 times that many injured. And they're like, well, how can we get paid, man? We got to leave out of here with all these dead people. We got to eat. Hey, how can we make some money? It's pathetic.
Yeah. And it reminds you why they don't want Trump in there in the first place, because the Democrats are a little better at not saying the quiet part out loud. Like, you're not going to hear that stuff, talk about the minerals. You're not going to hear about that stuff from Joe Biden's mouth, right? I mean, he couldn't even finish a sentence to begin with. So, like, no, you're just not going to get that like, that rawness, that like, you're not supposed to say that stuff. That's why they wanted him out the first time, right? Because you're sitting U.S. president. You're not supposed to be talking like this. Like, you're giving away the game plan of the military industrial complex, of our the Western imperialist machine. You're just saying it out loud. You're not supposed to say it.
Yep, a Crimea international. You know why he wants to do that? I'll tell you why. But before we go, I'll tell you why. Because the Russian economy is roaring. And there's a lot of money in Russia. There ain't no money in Europe. Screw the French Riviera. You know what I mean? And Monaco, those places are going to hell as the European economy goes down. Now, Russia, there's money being made in Russia, in BRICS, in China, and all that kind of stuff. So now the people like the Trump kind of people, you know what they're going to start building? They're going to say, well, we got to build a resort in China, unless they want to go to war with China, in Russia, in the countries now, maybe Brazil, wherever the BRICS countries are rising, they'll push Europe to the side. They got no money for them, nothing to offer. And now Trump's like, how can we make it's just pathetic. But at any rate, thanks a lot, Matt. Everybody follow Matt at The Homeless Left on Rumble. Where else can they find you, Matt?
You can find us on our new burner channel on YouTube. It's THL Presents. They took our other one down. The Homeless Left is you can't find the Homeless Left on YouTube because of medical misinformation charges. I guess we were punished. So new account, guys, check it out. It's THL Presents on YouTube. But yes, the Homeless Left on Rumble. That's our home base, and we've been so happy to have such great followers and engagement over these last 2 years we've been doing the show, and it's been great. And thank you, Garland, for having these great conversations and championing what we're doing in this Homeless Left arena, and just a real pushback to power, which is what it's about. And I appreciate everything you do as well. Awesome work you do. Thank you for having me on.
Great. Follow them there. THL Presents. It's a safe and effective channel on YouTube.
Yes.
All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Most importantly, share this on all your social media accounts wherever you can, because let's face it, I'll just say this: the algorithm is not kind to my channel. We're never going to be at the top of your feed, if ever in your feed. They won't even half the time notify people. People are like, hey, I didn't get a notification of this broadcast. What a shock. But so that's up to you guys and girls who are I've got a diverse group of vegans in the chat over there, of course, yeah. But to my diverse group of vegans in the chat, it's up to you guys to share this on all your social media platforms. Thanks a lot. We're out.